Dear listener, you can click the subscribe button and like the video for new stories. Thank you for your support. Story 1. Once upon a time, a little boy named Michael had a favorite toy, a brown plush teddy bear. Every night he would hug it as he fell asleep. One night he woke up and couldn't find his teddy bear. Feeling very upset, he left his room to search for it. While looking at the window where the moonlight shone brightly, Michael noticed that the moonlight formed a path on the floor. When he stepped onto it, he suddenly found himself in a magical forest. This was the Moonlight Forest. Everything here shimmered, the trees glowed like gold, and the flowers sparkled like stars. Michael came across a squirrel. "I've lost my teddy bear. Can you help me find it?" he asked. The squirrel smiled and said, "Follow the moonlight. It will guide you to the right place." Michael followed the moonlight and met many animals along the way. Butterflies as bright as stars, crickets playing music, and a laughing owl. At last, he reached a great golden tree where he found his teddy bear beneath its branches. The moonlight had protected his teddy bear and trusted Michael to take it back. Grateful and happy, Michael returned to his bed, hugged his teddy bear tightly, and drifted off to sleep. Story 2. In a village by the river, there lived a little girl named Clara. Every morning, Clara would go to the river, talk to the fish, and clean the water. She would collect shiny stones she found by the riverbank and give them as gifts to the children in the village. One day, Clara saw a light in the deepest part of the river. As she got closer and looked carefully, a water fairy emerged from the river. The water fairy smiled and said, "You always keep the river clean and protect nature. I want to thank you." The water fairy held a small golden bowl in her hands. "This bowl will enlarge and multiply whatever you put in it, but use it only with good intentions," she said. Clara took the bowl and decided to try it with her mother. They placed a small bag of wheat in it. The next morning, the bowl was full of wheat. Clara and her family shared the bounty with everyone in the village. No one went hungry. But Clara never misused the bowl. As the water fairy had said, she only helped those in need. Thanks to Clara's kind heart, everyone in the village lived happily, and the water fairy became their friend. Story 3. Once upon a time, there were adorable 5-year-old twin siblings named Mary and Chris. Mary had golden blonde hair, while Chris had chestnut brown hair. Both were cheerful and curious children. But this Christmas was extra special for them, because it was the first time they would decorate a Christmas tree and wait for Santa Claus' arrival. On Christmas Eve morning, Mary and Chris woke up excitedly. "Mary, wake up! We're going to decorate the tree today," said Chris, jumping out of bed. Mary rubbed her eyes and smiled excitedly. "Let's have breakfast quickly and start decorating the tree." Their parents had set up a big pine tree in the living room. The branches were as white as the season's first snow. Next to the tree were colorful ornaments, lights, and a big star. Mary and Chris carefully picked up each ornament and placed it lovingly on the tree. "Mary, look! This ornament is just like my brown hair, isn't it?" Chris asked, showing a small, shiny bell. Mary laughed out loud. "But this red ribbon suits my yellow hair." The twins spent the whole day with laughter and songs. Finally, the tree was sparkling brightly. Their mom said, "This is the most beautiful Christmas tree ever," and kissed them warmly. When night came, Mary and Chris put on their pajamas and started waiting for Santa under the tree. Mary asked, "Do you think he'll really come?" Chris was very sure. "Of course he will. We were such good kids this year." When the clock struck midnight, the twins fell asleep, but soon after, they heard a strange sound. Creak, creak, creak. Heavy footsteps seemed to echo in the room. When Mary and Chris opened their eyes, they saw a man in red clothes with a white beard placing gifts under the tree. Santa Claus was real. Santa noticed them and smiled, saying, "Ho, ho, ho! I rarely see awake." "Children, but you two were such good and hardworking kids. I'm so glad you're here." Mary and Chris jumped up excitedly, but Santa vanished in an instant. The next morning, the area under the tree was filled with colorful presents. Mary and Chris opened their gifts and hugged each other, saying, "This is the best Christmas ever." And so, Mary and Chris kept the memory of that magical night in their hearts. Every Christmas, they continued to sing songs by the tree, remembering those special moments. Story 4. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled among lush green trees, there lived a sweet girl named Isabella. With her big brown eyes and a constant smile, Isabella was loved by everyone in the village. She had such a kind heart that everyone adored her. As Isabella's birthday approached, there was a flurry of excitement in the village. Her family and friends wanted to surprise her with a beautiful birthday celebration. However, Isabella had a different wish. She told her mother, "Mom, this year for my birthday, I want to do something special. I have a wish, but I need to tell it to the wish tree." In the village, there was a legend. Deep in the forest, there was a wish tree that could only be found by those with a pure heart. This tree only bloomed once a year on Isabella's birthday, and it would grant wishes. On her birthday morning, Isabella wore her favorite red dress, took her little basket, and set off toward the forest. Along the way, her best friend, a little white rabbit named Minnick, accompanied her. As they journeyed through the forest, they came across a river that rustled in the wind. To cross the river, Isabella bravely gathered a few branches and made a small raft. Minnick was amazed by how clever Isabella was. Afterward, Isabella and Minnick came upon a large rock. The rock was very heavy, but Isabella didn't give up. With Minnick's help, she moved the rock aside, and they continued on their way. Finally, they reached the wish tree. The tree was covered in golden leaves, shining brightly. Isabella sat under the tree, clasped her hands, and whispered her wish. "My wish is for everyone to be happy and healthy." Suddenly, golden lights rose from the tree, and the sky filled with stars. Isabella's wish spread through the forest, the village, and the entire world. In that moment, the hearts of everyone in the village were filled with warm happiness. When Isabella returned to the village, her family and friends had prepared a grand birthday celebration. Everyone danced, laughed, and when they heard Isabella's wish, they loved her even more. From that day on, Isabella's village became the center of happiness and love. Isabella's birthday became an unforgettable day, not only for her, but for the entire village. And so the story ends. 3 apples fell from the sky, one for Isabella, one for the wish tree, and one for those reading this story. Story 5. Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Chris who wandered through an old market. Chris loved the market. He always found interesting things there. One day, he saw a worn-out rug. The rug looked old and tattered, but the merchant said, "This is no ordinary rug. If you say 'fly,' it will take you wherever you wish." Chris didn't believe him, but he bought the rug anyway. He spread it out in his room and, curious, sat on it. The moment he said, "fly," the rug lifted off the ground. Chris soared into the sky. As he passed through the clouds, he saw a golden castle. The rug dropped Chris at the castle gates. When the door opened, a tall, friendly giant greeted him. The giant said, "This castle is only open to brave and kind-hearted people." Chris was surprised but happy. The giant gave him a magical box. "This box is filled with stardust, but your wishes will only work to help others," he said. When Chris returned home, he used the magic of the box to help the people in the village. He brought food to the hungry, medicine to the sick, and toys to children who wanted to play. Chris's flying rug and magical box became a source of happiness for everyone in the village. Chris's bravery and generosity were always remembered. Dear listener, you can click the subscribe button and like the video for new stories. Thank you for your support.